But first, this week we saw the end of the ABC and Channel 10's flagship current affairs programs. Yes, after 18 years on air, Q&A was axed, and so was The Project, which has been on air for 16 years. I'm not sure how we're going to cope not having these two insufferable lefty talkfests lecturing us on what a terrible, racist, sexist, heteronormative country Australia is. Will we hear genius analysis like this? Here is Tim Flannery. This is back in 2018 on Q&A, with just some casual climate catastrophising.
Melbourne, with its huge desal plant, has bought itself about a decade of grace of water security. Beyond that, things are going to get difficult again. And with the impacts of climate change, places like Western Sydney are going to really start feeling the heat because the heat waves are getting longer, hotter and more frequent. The infrastructure we're building isn't fit for purpose for that future. And I think we're going to struggle. I really do.
Yes. That desal plant in Melbourne has never been actually relied upon for water supplies. It's a big, fat, expensive white elephant that should have never been built. A new dam would have been much cheaper, but I digress. We will not miss Q&A with its climate, race and LGBT obsessions, and we certainly will not miss 10's The Project, a program that managed to be both sanctimonious and vacuous at the same time. It's not a good mix. Here is Rove McManus, who was not only an occasional host, but whose company Roving Enterprises produced the program for Channel 10. Here he is lecturing Australians about the Voice referendum.
I wrote yes. My daughter was there. She got it. She's 9. She said, I can't believe anyone would vote no to this. And that's what breaks my heart. What are we doing to ourselves? This is a real moment where we can be proud and show what a wonderful country this is. This whole cliche we like to put out of, we love to give everyone a fair go. We're not doing this. So whichever way you're voting, just please, just think about what you're doing. Think about the repercussions and let's just be decent for once.
Be decent for once.
Whichever way you're voting, but vote yes.
What was I saying about that unpleasant mix of sanctimonious and vacuous? That's a prime example there. Yes, The Project and Q&A are over, and you know what I'm going to miss the most? It's going to be these musical interludes.
You are my sister, and I love you. May all of your dreams come true.
Yes, now to the US and the anti-Trump, anti-deportation riots we've seen in LA, and they're spreading to other parts of the country. President Donald Trump could not have hoped for a better advertisement for his policies than the violent scenes in LA with rioters attacking law enforcement, destroying public and private property, burning the American flag and generally behaving like lawless thugs. The violence became so out of control that the Democrat mayor of LA, the thoroughly hopeless Karen Bass, went from standing with the protesters to imposing a curfew on them. But what is really fascinating is the enormous support Donald Trump enjoys from migrants on this issue. Yes, despite what the media may tell you, the polling consistently shows that the majority of Americans want to see every single illegal immigrant deported. And have a look at how migrants, legal migrants, feel about this issue. Even CNN had to take a break from its relentless anti-Trump coverage to report on this.
Immigrant citizens, immigrant voters, foreign-born voters have gone tremendously to the right on this issue in 2024 and 2025 versus where they were in 2020. Closest to or trust more in immigration. You go back to 2020. Democrats, get this, held a 32-point lead on this issue. Immigrant voters were in the Democratic camp. Jump forward to 2024, 2025. Look at that shift, a 40-point shift to the right among immigrant voters. Republicans now lead on this issue by 8 points over Democrats, more so than any other group that I could find. The group of voters who became more hawkish on immigration were in fact immigrants themselves, immigrants who are registered to vote in this country.
And that has seen immigrant voters shift their votes to the Republicans, not just on the issue, on the whole election. I wonder if there are any lessons to be learnt about that from our hapless coalition.
Again, there is no block of voters that shifted more to the right from 2020 to 2024 than immigrant voters, and Donald Trump, at least in some surveys, actually won that vote. On average, it's about equal. So there may be all this stuff, right, about undocumented immigrants and Trump being harsh on them, but immigrant voters themselves have increasingly liked Donald Trump and have increasingly moved to the right on immigration and into the Republican camp.
Yep, the biggest group gravitating to Trump over the illegal immigration issue are immigrants in the country legally, you know, the ones that actually vote. That will no doubt shock political pundits everywhere who have misunderstood the Trump phenomenon from the start. They've convinced themselves it was all a manifestation of white supremacy rather than a broad coalition that has seen the Republican Party enjoy newfound support among migrants, particularly Hispanic and Asian voters. And that support on immigration policy is evident amongst all voters. Take it away, CNN.
The American electorate believe that the Democrats don't have a clue on the issue of immigration. I mean, you could just take it here. Closer to trust more in immigration, Democrats versus Republicans. Got 3 different polls for you across the board. They all tell the same story. Republicans lead on the issue of immigration. You see it here, CBS +6. You see it here, CNN +6. You see it here, Ipsos, even bigger, +19. No matter what poll you look at, no matter which way you cut it, the American public is with the Republicans. The American public is with Donald Trump, and to a much greater extent than they were in term number 1. And it's not just on the broad issue of immigration, it's on the specifics as well, in which the American public is with Donald Trump and the Republicans, and that is why Donald Trump is eager to take on this fight.
That would have hurt CNN having to report that. Meanwhile, you have the Democrats doubling down on the lunacy, standing with the illegal immigrants they allowed to flood into the country, more than 2 million a year under Joe Biden's administration. And many Democrats continue to blame Donald Trump for the violence of their leftist supporters. Or in the case of Democrat Congresswoman Maxine Waters, they deny there is any violence. Who are you going to believe, your lying eyes or Maxine?
Did not create any violence. Nobody was shot. Nobody was killed. Get it in your head. And so when martial law is called, what are you going to say? I missed the point. Don't miss the point, you all. Don't think that somehow, because they called out the National Guard, there was violence. There was no violence.
The truth is that President Donald Trump has a clear mandate to implement his deportation program, and the more the Democrats resist, the more they harm their standing among voters.